today. So let's get right into it. Our guest today is Mr. Kern Slucter. Now, Kern and I have known each other for a number of years. We met back in graduate school. And Kern has been very active in real estate, all sorts of real estate in the Michigan area. And in fact, Kern has written a new book, which we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. So, Kern, let me run through this. You're designated as an MAI through the Appraisal Institute. You're designated as an SRA through the Appraisal Institute. So you've got experience in both of those arenas. You're a state certified general residential real estate appraisal
General.
in how many states?
I have been certified in 6 states, but I only carry the Michigan license now.
Okay, so 6 at one time, but just Michigan now. Okay. And then again, graduate school. So you have a Master of Science degree specifically in the science of real estate appraisal from the University of St. Thomas in Minneapolis. So you've got a varied educational and experiential background, and you're also a township supervisor in where you get to advise real estate appraisers and brokers about real estate issues from a standpoint of local government. So you've put all this together and you've written a book. Now, let's get right to that book. We are going to mention Sitzer-Burnett because that's basically what generated this this conversation a couple of months ago when we were at an appraisal conference. So uh, let's talk about this idea you've got for your book. Now, your book has been published. Is that correct?
Yes,
Oh,
here's an actual copy of it right here. It's called Real Estate a la carte, 2nd edition. The purpose of this book and the object of this book is to tell consumers how to take apart that real estate transaction. The days of real estate commissions can be over for all practical purposes. The book advocates consumers, buyers and sellers, negotiate with their agents for hourly fees or fee-for-service based payment. And in fact, consumers actually can, and this is going to sound like a real contradiction, Tim, consumers can save about half the money on commissions and agents can make more money. And the reason I can say they can make more money is because agents that are actually doing fee for service or hourly fee for service always get paid. They don't go out and show somebody 32 houses who ends up buying from a for sale by owner. People that hire consultants tend to follow their advice much more thoroughly, much more completely, and they get good advice. One of our mottos for real estate consultants is we tell, we don't sell.
all right, let's back up a little bit. Now, you've got this
Sure.
book out there, and it's telling consumers how to work with brokers. It's telling
Right.
them how to save some money. All right, let's suppose that somebody's been hiding underneath a rock for the last 12 months. What brought this change? What brought this metamorphosis in commissions about? And then as a follow-up question, obviously this has changed the way we do brokerage. Is it going to change the way that we appraisers appraise? And is it going to change the way the public is going to appreciate, which is probably the wrong word, but is it going to change the way the way the public is going to use our services?
I think it very possibly can have an impact on all of those things. Let's kind of take your question apart a little bit, and let's start with the appraiser's role. The impact on the appraiser who is doing, in particular, residential mortgage appraisals, as a for instance. is going to change a little bit in that they are going to have to make a determination as to what was included in that sale price. Was there a commission or was there not a commission paid, or were there hourly fees? Because if I'm cutting the cost of the transaction by 50%, then that is going to be reflected in a sales in a sale price. So the appraiser is going to have to do some confirmation things. Now let's talk about a little bit about what brought all this on. And I want to go back to the history of commissions and things like that. You know, originally only the selling broker got a commission, and I'm talking about turn of the century, coming into the 20th century, when the barber shop was the source for most of the real estate information that went out. It was the guy that actually did the deal that got the commission. The listing was just a necessary evil you had to have. And most of those things were done as pocket listings. They were, certain brokers agreed to associate with each other and share information, but it was only the seller that got the commission. Over a long period of time, agency law evolved, and these contracts became agency things where all the duties that the real estate agent, the duty of loyalty, the duty of confidentiality, all of these kind of things came into play, and the contract became more formalized. In the 90s, in the mid-90s, there was a lawsuit in California, and that lawsuit in California changed the way we viewed the agency laws that NAR had made into their rules called for what was called for sub-agency. And the sub-agency agreement meant that when an agent listed a property and put it in the MLS, the buyer agent was really a sub-agent of the seller and had to treat that seller with all, or that buyer, as though that they were a customer and they were representing the buyer as a sub-agent of the listing agent. That kind of was a complicated situation, and because relationships between buyer and buyer agents developed, some of those duties of agency were neglected, and there was a large lawsuit in California. The National Association of Realtors recognized that agency wasn't being followed well, and so they created what was called a rule called cooperating compensation, that all of the agents were required to follow. So what they did is they loaded language into the listing agreements that MLS systems that were realtor associated had to have language in there that made the sellers pay the buyer agent commission. That brings us up to October 30th of 2023, when the Sitzer-Burnett lawsuit that you mentioned earlier came about. There was a $1.78 billion award against the National Association of Realtors. And subsequently, a lot of people aren't talking about this too much, but there were 19 other lawsuits that followed Sitzer. And so the National Association of Realtors has really had their hands full in defending these things. And now they have agreed to a settlement. Where this thing all finalizes out is not going to be known, it looks like, until November, when there is the final settlement hearing. And my understanding is the Justice Department isn't totally happy with the proposed settlement. So I think everything's pretty much up in the air yet.
Oh, let's go back and make sure everybody understands. Sitzer-Burnett, the jury in Sitzer-Burnett said the National Association of Realtors violated basically the Sherman Antitrust Act as well as a whole bunch of other laws to the
Right.
tune of $1.78 billion, not million,
Billion.
billion dollars. And because this was the violation of a federal law, the judge at the judge's, I don't want to say whim and caprice, but the judge, assuming there were sufficient there was sufficient evidence to support it, could have trebled those damages
That's
uh,
correct.
under the law. So NAR said, "Well, okay, let's see what we got to do to make this thing go away," and that was the $478 million proposed settlement, which you just indicated is still not settled. It
Yeah,
it's it looks awesome.
there's been a lot of ebb and flow. Now, along the way, there besides NAR, there were several other co-defendants in this thing, and individually they settled, and they really kind of left NAR and I think one other one, I can't remember which one, kind of holding the bag for the parts that had not fallen off. And NAR's portion was 4.18 million. Excuse me, 418 million is what NAR's settlement is. And there are proposals as to how that would be paid and things like that. But, we'll see going forward what that actually is, because like I said, it's not expected to be fully resolved until November.
Yeah.
There
All right.
are other
Go
dates that have been thrown around, but November is the final date.
Okay. Now, okay. So Sitzer-Burnett has effectively changed the real estate brokerage industry in the United States. Obviously, it's going to affect real estate appraisers because the brokers put the deals together, the appraisers appraise. So
Exactly.
let's talk about that for a second. Now, in your book, you mentioned that you're telling consumers that they can save a bundle by negotiating a commission or paying the broker an hourly fee or a flat fee or whatever. That's fully negotiable. Okay, let's talk about it from the standpoint of appraisers. Okay,
Sure.
the appraiser says, well, it isn't really going to make any difference to me. I'm still going to do mortgage appraisals. Isn't that a tad short-sighted on the part of the appraisal community? Isn't there a way for appraisers to get involved in this as well?
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the biggest mistakes that the appraisal profession made was back in around 2008, 2009, when they allowed the consulting standards to go away. In my state here in Michigan, a real estate sales agent has to take a 40-hour class, pass a test, and have an employing broker. A state licensed appraiser has to take a 150-hour course, pass a test, and have a mentor experience them. So appraisers are far more educated in real estate, in neighborhood analysis, in all the aspects of actually the process of buying and selling a home than a rookie real estate agent. I mean, if you take a newly licensed appraiser and a newly licensed agent, hands down, the real estate appraiser has far more education, far more better understanding of what's going into residential real estate than the typical agent does. So they're better qualified, and I think they're missing an opportunity in not doing in consulting. Now, under the different laws of the various states, they may have to get a sales license, but I'm not sure that that's such a bad deal. Why not have a broker's license as well as an agent's license? It's not that difficult of a thing to add on to your resume, so to speak. You're probably going to have trouble in most states doing the filling out the contracts and advising on real estate contracts, but without a without a sales license, but I certainly think it's a very good strategy. I've done a lot of residential consulting myself, where I've actually taken people through that process for an hourly fee. And as a buyer's agent or a seller's agent, it's a great position to be, because you sit down with the client, you go through all the steps of the sales process. They understand what parts of that process they want to do, and you understand what parts you're going to do. You get involved in an engagement letter, and then you get a retainer, and you go to work, and you do your part of the deal, and the customer does their part of the deal, or the client, actually, because they truly do become a client. And it's a far superior system that actually costs the consumers less money, and the agents or appraisers, if they choose to want to get involved in this, make a lot more money.
Kern, you have set up, in line with all of this stuff, you have set up the International Association of Real Estate Consultants.
Yes, it is.
Tell
Yep.
us about that.
Well, that's an organization that actually allows consumers to come into our website and take a look at the different aspects of consulting that they might want to be involved in, and learn more about how to talk with the agents and things like that. Then we have another section of that where we have members, where we have real estate agents and appraisers that join the association, and they get benefits of deeper knowledge about the consulting aspect of the business. And the third level of that is we have a professional designation that we offer people that take our course and that qualify with some other experience things, and it works out really quite well. We have a number of professionally designated members.
All right. I'm sitting at my desk, and I got not much to do because the appraisal business is kind of quiet. And I'm watching reruns of Game of Thrones. And the phone rings, and I pick it up. Hello. And somebody says, Tim, I want you to come out. I'm thinking about selling my house. I want you to tell me what I ought to list my house for. So I do some research, and I go out there and I look, and I come back and I fill out a 1004 form, and I go, here's your appraisal. And the guy says, I didn't want an appraisal. I just wanted you to tell me where I ought to list my house. So uh, the point I'm trying to make here is that the appraiser can function as a consultant, not as an appraiser, by saying, sure, I'll be happy to do that. Doing the research, finding what the houses are listed for in the neighborhood, finding the listing, the sales price to listing price ratio, and then saying, houses like yours have typically listed at 375 and they typically sell at 350. And I've not told the client, the seller, a value. I've said, here what the sales data indicate. Now, I forgot to mention earlier that you're also a USPAP instructor.
Yes,
Now, when that type of situation presents itself, and I make it clear that I'm functioning as a consultant. I'm not functioning as an appraiser. I am, but I'm not functioning as one. Is USPAP going to stop me from consulting? Or is USPAP going to say, hey, you go for it, dude, consult all you want to and charge what the market will bear? What's going on with USPAP in this?
Well, I think you pointed out one of the most important aspects of this, and is that how you present yourself makes the determination as to whether you're viewed as an appraiser. And also, there is that word value, and we have a couple of ways we refer to market value, standard of value, things like this. And so you want to be very, very careful in that consulting role that you're talking about listing prices, probable sale prices. you're not talking about the market value of the property, because that gets into then an appraisal report situation, be it an oral report or a written report. And you don't want to act unethically. Additionally, you need to understand your state's brokerage laws. Most states, it's not real difficult to get a salesman's license, especially with the background in an appraisal. In our state, in Michigan, for instance, if you have a certified general or certified residential license, you can get if you pass the if you have enough of the education, and they count a lot of your appraisal courses, uh, you won't have to have an experience requirement, because they will already credit you for that experience. Other states have different rules. Everybody needs to consult their own state laws on that. But so you want to be very careful on how you operate so you stay within the law, because once you start breaking the law, then you're getting into an ethical situation. And we don't want anybody violating ethics. We want to convert the real estate industry into the real estate profession. We want to raise the standards. Right now, myself and a couple of other people are working on a consultant's code of ethics. We're working on a consultant's code of ethics so that we make sure that we're accounting for everybody operating within the law, being properly licensed, and things like this. You see what I mean?
Hey, let me ask a couple more questions.
Sure.
I've received these questions from appraisers, uh, and I know how I've answered them. So let's see how you answer them. The appraiser says, okay, well, I'm functioning as a consultant. I know that I'm not going to use the word value, and I'm going to tell my client that, you know, if they ought to list it for $350,000, because that's where houses like theirs are listed for in the neighborhood. And then one of the common questions that comes into me, Kern, is, well, what form do I put it on? And I saw your eyes blink there. And
They did.
the thing is, there is no form, because the 1004 form, the 2055, blah, 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 are all appraisal forms. But we're consulting. We're not appraising. So I know what I've told appraisers, the form they should put it on. What would be your advice to an appraiser with that question as that appraiser gets into the consulting business?
I would simply call it a comparative market analysis. And I would have a description of what the characteristics of the subject property, using an appraisal term, subject property, what the characteristics of that property were. And I would definitely then I would just use a comparative market analysis form. You can quickly make one out of Excel, is a very good way to do it. You have the characteristics of the subject and you find the best comparables you can. And now you're clearly saying these properties sold. Here's the dates. This is the price. This is what you could expect your property to sell for based on these things. And, you know, sophisticated real estate agents actually adjust in their comparative market analysis, similar to what appraisers do. So this is a standard of care that is pretty easy in my mind.
In one instance, I had an appraiser raise this question to me and then say, I didn't know what to do, so I put it on a restricted appraisal form. Now, I know what answer I gave to that appraiser. What answer would you have given to that appraiser
I
when
go,
the, go
I'm sorry.
ahead, go ahead,
I
Kurt.
go right back to the CMA. You can use a restricted reappraisal if you want to give them a restricted appraisal, because that's what it is. If you use the form that says restricted appraisal, it becomes a restricted appraisal. I mean, in my mind, that's how I see it.
Yeah, that's the issue. There is no quote unquote form for
Exactly.
And the CMA is going to work wonderfully. I told the appraisers to write them a letter. You know,
Exactly.
Dear client, I shook my chicken bones and consulted my snake entrails, and houses like yours have listed for around 375 and sell for around 350. Love the appraiser, invoice attached. And
Well, I wouldn't put the appraiser on there
okay, love
on that signature
love
part.
love Kern. Okay,
There you go. That's
and
fine.
and invoice attached, including a stamped self-addressed envelope. So um, basically, I think we're both saying that as the appraiser transitions into the consulting phase, the appraiser has got to take that appraiser hat off and,
Exactly.
and learn how to put the consultant hat on. Now, I got a call very recently, uh, and the appraiser said, "What should I charge?" I said, "Well, I can't tell you that. That's between you, your client, and the IRS. But are you state certified residential or general?" He said, "Residential." Okay. "How long have you been appraising?" He said, "A little over 15 years." I said, "Okay. Do you have a college degree?" "Yes, I have a college degree." Have you written any articles for magazines or anything like that?" "No, never done that." "Have you taken all of your necessary continuing education?" "Yeah, I've done all that." I said, "Well, let's face it, you have a level of experience, you have a level of expertise, and you have a level of education for which you deserve to be properly compensated. So whatever it is you're going to charge is whatever it is you're going to charge. But remember, there's no reason whatsoever to give those three things away. And because, appraisers are accustomed to saying, well, yeah, I'll do that appraisal for $450. Okay, that's their choice. But because what you're advocating, and quite frankly, I've said the same thing, is appraisers have got to get to the point where instead of letting the client tell them what they're worth, they've got to tell the client what they're worth.
I have a
And
chapter in the book that deals with how to price the services and how to figure out what your services are worth.
okay,
And there's definitely, and many of the things that you mentioned there are considerations. It's essentially a way to value your time and put a price on your time.
hmm
And yeah, it's on the book's available on the website. It's 1995. Quite frankly, I think most appraisers and a lot of agents that read the book are going to find it a little bit simplistic because the truth is it's designed for consumers, but there's a wealth of consulting knowledge in it that an appraiser can learn.
Kern, what is that website, please?
It's www.iarec.org.
IAREC.org,
That's
International Association of Real Estate Consultants.org.
.org.
All right. Now, Kern, if somebody wants to get in touch with you personally, how would they do that?
Kern at IAREC.org.
Okay. And
And
the
for your viewers, Tim, I'm going to put my cell phone out there.
okay.
517-204-7750. Be glad to take their calls.
And Kern can't see it yet because I haven't added it, but you can see on the screen both the site, the website, and Kern's phone number. And Kern said it's okay to call. And by the way, call Kern because he's a nice guy and he'll answer your questions. I know I've called him and asked him questions and he's answered them. So, and given Kern's background, especially, you've been in one market pretty well. You've appraised all over the country, have you not?
That's true, Tim. I have had a wonderful career. My company, through its inception, has always been kind of that boutique real estate industry or in the boutique part of the real estate industry. We've deliberately remained small. At one time, I had 6 appraisers working for me. I prefer to have one person that I'm mentoring and working close with. Because I'm comfortable that way. And it's always, it's been good. But that gives us the opportunity to get into a lot of things. We haven't specialized. Because I'm in a small market, the Lansing, Michigan area is a 500,000 roughly SMA. You have to be doing a lot of different things. And so we've had that opportunity to look at a lot of different things. Number of years ago, I got into a semi-specialty mode where I was doing some cannabis appraisals because it was legalized in Michigan, and somebody said maybe you ought to learn how to do that. And I partnered up with a couple of guys that were in Colorado, and they taught me a lot about it. So I did some of those and built a little bit of that kind of a business. But there's a wonderful opportunity in consulting because and for the on that cannabis side, I've helped a lot of people find locations and things like that. So consulting, like I said earlier, it's a shame we allowed them to take that standard out of use pack, but that's happened, and so we'll see where we go down the road with consulting. We are, like I said, we are writing a new code of ethics.
But appraisers can consult.
Absolutely.
Assuming
Absolutely they
take
can.
their appraiser hat off. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yep.
All right. Well, Kern, again, we'll have your website on here so everybody can see it. We'll have your phone number on here so everybody can see it. Before we sign off, anything else we need to know?
Just feel free to contact me as you need, and you've got all the information.
All right. Very good. Kern Slucter, thank you. We appreciate it. And get Kern's book, for heaven's sakes, and learn how to become a consultant as well as an appraiser. Kern, thank you. I appreciate it. I look forward to the next time we get to meet, and my best to you and all of yours.
Tim, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be part of your podcast. And if you want to get into additional aspects of this, if there is a call for it from your audience, be glad to do it again and drill into specific consulting aspects.
We will. And I look forward to doing that.
All
Again,
right.
and thank you on behalf of everybody who watches and myself. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you, sir.
We'll be in touch. Bye-bye.
Bye now.